And we're going to find out at places like St. Thomas, like Ohio State, like Swanee, like Wartburg, because people in those institutions are asking the question, and they're not going to be satisfied by saying, well, we just don't know, and so we'll go off and do something else. They're going to press to get an answer that works for their institution. And so whatever that answer is for St. Thomas, it may not, it's unlikely to be the same answer as for Ohio State or Swanee, but it's going to work for St. Thomas. And I mean, so in a sense, that's, you know, we'll know it when we'll see it, but that simplifies it too much. We'll have it because you and your colleagues are going to create it, and you're not and you're not going to be satisfied with half measures. We've all grown up with a tradition of librarianship that says we're about service, and we are about service, and we're not going to not be about service. But there's a whole nother range of activities that really are prompted by what's happening out on the campus as faculty start using different pedagogies. And as students bring entirely new learning strategies and preferences to St. Thomas, they're forcing us to rethink what we're doing. And so what you need to say to your faculty colleagues is, our circumstances require that we rethink this wonderful tradition in librarianship and start building a new paradigm of excellence that will include the idea of excellent service, but it will go beyond, and it will have measurable impact on what happens in the classroom and outside the classroom, where, of course, most learning happens. I think the two central things that we're dealing with is the adoption over the last 20 years, let's say, and it's a rising tide of activity relating to active learning. And that's the paradigm shift in the learning environment, and that is matched by a much more dramatic paradigm shift in the way in which information resources are delivered now. For the last, again, 20 years, we've seen this rising tide, very dramatic, of digital information resources. And that changes, those two things change what happens at a university. Because you'll always be asking people, what's your definition of success? Then you're going to try to find a way to build measures that enable you to say, yeah, we're meeting that definition or we're not. Now, the people you're going to be asking are the people that you serve. You're also going to be asking yourselves this. I mean, this is a key professional question for librarians. Community building is always tough. Universities build communities in all sorts of ways, at gyms, in residence halls, in dining halls. We say that the library is the heart of the community, but it has not typically been the center of community building in the way that dining halls, residence halls, and gymnasiums are. So it's tough to change that. And the way you do that is, you know, not bring exercise machinery into the library. You might want to bring food into the library, but not for food's sake. You bring food into the library because it is a community building thing. Finally, what brings faculty to the university and what brings students to the university is the same thing, and that's the opportunity to manage the risks that are involved in learning something, in moving from the community that I grew up in, the community of knowledge that I grew up in, to a different community of knowledge. That's a risky business, and you create this environment to make it happen. If the library is positioned so that it's at the center of that movement between among communities, then it will start functioning in the same way that the dining hall does and the residences do, as a key community building entity on campus. You've got the most exciting thing to do, which is to locate yourself at the center of the university's activity, right there one can say that the library is at the heart of the university, but that's true only if you position yourselves for this community building activity. And that's a really neat thing for librarians to do. That's the appropriate and exciting response to these two changes in pedagogy and in information technology. That's our future. One of the most common responses to that challenge is the creation of information commons, where you try to bring all those activities together. And of course you've done that, or at least you've begun to do that in a very dramatic and apparently successful way here at St. Thomas. So you're moving quite appropriately with the profession. What you're also doing is sort of scratching your head and saying, is that enough? And you're asking yourselves, is there something more than this customary and quite appropriate response that will position the library at the center of the learning endeavor of the university? That's less common. To start asking in a systematic way about how students learn and how faculty teach, and what the implication of that is for the design of our space, for the design of library services, that's a little bit less ordinary. And there, to my knowledge at least, there are, let's say, half a dozen libraries that are actually pushing the envelope on those questions. We don't have answers yet, but that's where we should be pushing.